Hey everyone. So in the last meeting I showed off how to create a Blocksi classroom and import students into that classroom. I also showed off the basics of the program, of the management features that it has built into it, and just some tips on how you can use the program to your benefit in the classroom. Now I want to show off the conferencing tool and the way that you can create a breakout or individual groups for your students using Blocksi. So what I'm going to do is log into the teacher dashboard, and before I go too far, I want to point this out. When you have the list of your classrooms in front of you, you will see the button that says Conference Recording right on top. And every conference that you have started, it gives you the option to record. And you can see here all of the recordings that are available to me. Now these recordings, I've been told that they're only available for 3 days. As I say this, I see that it's actually quite a bit longer than that they have remained available. So, but I'm going off of what the company has said, which is 3 days is all that they're guaranteeing that it'll be available there. So it's very important that whenever you finish any conference that you have, give it a little bit of time to get prepared, but go back in and download those meetings so that you have access to them. You can put them in your Google Drive and have access to them forever that way. But I think it's always a good idea to make sure that you have downloaded all of the meetings that you have conducted inside of your classroom. So I'm going to go down and enter my classroom. Now when I log in, you can see that I have an issue. I have no license attached to these students, and sometimes that just happens by accident along the way. So I'm going to click the Sync Classroom button, and you can see that it has opened up these two students. So these are fixed, but Cave Student 2 is not fixed. So because it didn't work, because syncing the classroom didn't work for this student, I'm going to go ahead and put in a Mohawk ticket that says Cave Student 2 has no license in Blocksi, and we'll be able to clear this up as quickly as possible. But I'm going to go ahead and show this off to you, the conferencing tool, with just this student right here, just Cave Student 5. So I'm going to start my class, and you can, once it gets going, you can see what this student is doing on their screen. So I can see that they are in my main classroom in Google Classroom, and but what I want to do is start a conference with that student. So I have a few options here. Now my first option is just to use this conference button right here, and this will actually start a conference with every single student in the class at the same time. Now I only have one on, I only have one student logged in, so it's not going to be that great to see. But whenever I click on this button, I'm given this drop down, and I want to first of all enable conference recording. I want to enable conference recording on every single conference that I am included on with my students. And I'm given the option of a dominant speaker layout or a tile layout. What the dominant speaker layout does is it only records you, so it's almost like a way to make an announcement to your kids. This will put your video on the bottom right of the screen, and you'll be able to conference with them in the sense of just making an announcement. But I want to conference with them. I want them to be able to talk back to me as well, and so I'm going to click the tile layout. And when that happens, it's going to open up another screen on my page, and so you can see me with my headphones ajar. But I'm going to go back into the teacher dashboard, and you can see that this is also what the student sees on their screen. Now the student can turn on their video as well. And whenever I go back into the conference room, you can see that now I'm coming from two different locations, which is slightly terrifying, right? So so this is a way to conference with all of the students. It's going to bring in every single one of the students that is in your classroom at the time. And you can see that there's a few options here at the bottom. You can share your screen, you can mute all of your students, and then toggle on and off your video like you did before. You notice also there is a hand waving right here. The only thing that the students have, and I can't show off the student screen, but the only thing that the students have, they do not have the option to share their screen or to stop the conference, but they do have the option to raise their hand. and it basically puts this little emoji on your screen so that you can tell if a student has a question. Okay, so I'm going to click Stop Conference here. Actually, I'm not going to click it here. There's another option. I can click it here, or I can go back into my Blocksi dashboard and I can click Stop Conference there. It doesn't matter how you do it, but you saw as soon as I clicked Conference for it to stop, then the conference closed on the student's screen and it went back to what they were doing prior to. Now, the students, when the conference is taking place, they can also toggle back and forth between their open tabs. So it doesn't force that conference on them. It forces the conference on them, but they can also go back to Google Classroom and continue working. So that's the gist of the main conferencing feature of how you would do it with your entire classroom. But there are additional options, and right up here, I'm hovering over this. It says student groups, and the picture is, it looks like three little emojis, I guess, three people that are sitting there. So I'm going to click on student groups, and here I'm given the option to create student groups. Now I've created a couple student groups, but I'm going to create a brand new one, and I'm going to call this small group 1. And what I can do is go ahead and add any students into this small group that aren't already in another group. But I've already added these students to a different group, so you'll see what happens. If I click student number 5, which is the one that I have in my classroom right now, whenever I click add, it says the selected student is already in another group. And that makes sense because you can't be in 2 different breakout groups at the same time. So I'm going to go back into my student group, and let's see, he's in student group 5. Well, I want to remove him from this group, and I'm going to have to save that change. And sadly, it closes that dialog every single time I do that. But I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to try again. I'm going to create small group 1, and I'm going to try to add student number 5, and this time it works. Now the policy I want to give them is the class policy, and I want to save changes. And sadly, again, it closes it. So I'm going to open it one more time. I'm going to go back into small group 1. And you can see that now I have 2 options of what to do from here on. I can either start a conference for just this group, or I can start all breakout rooms at the same time. And I have 3 different breakout rooms, although no one is in group 2, so it probably wouldn't create a group, but we'll see here in a second. So the first thing I'm going to do is click Start Conference for just this group. And you can see in the background, I'm going to click Save Changes. And in the background, you can see that this student has opened up their conference room with them inside of it. And then on the bottom right of my screen, it shows me what breakout rooms I have open right now. And if I click this left arrow, it's going to tell me all the students inside of that breakout room. If I wanted to personally discuss something with one student, if I wanted to create a breakout room and only have this student inside, I can do that and then click connect. And just like before, it's going to open this up in a different tab, and I'll be able to see me and the student on my screen. And just like before, I have these available to me. I don't have the option to share page. I'm assuming that will get fixed, but as of today, it's not there. And the student can raise their hand and talk if they wanted to. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just like before, I'm going to close it up here and show you that in order to stop this, I again have 2 options. I can either stop this conference by clicking this button up here, or now I can actually click the stop button right here and it will stop that conference. So if you want to have an individual session with one or a small group of kids, that's how you would create one individual session. But if you wanted to do breakout rooms and put kids in different groups, high, medium, low, or any combination that you see as appropriate, you can do the same thing that you did before. Instead of clicking this button up here at the top, you would click Start All Breakout Rooms. So as I click that, it's going to put, as I said, it's going to create 2 because I don't have a third, I don't have a person in that third group. But now you can see that in group 1, student 2 and student 1 would be in there. and in small group 1, just that one student is in there. And just like I did before, I can click connect and go into this conference group. Of course, there's no students inside of this because they're not online at the moment. But if I wanted to, I could close that out and then connect to this other small group and talk with them as well. And I could stop individual groups. So if I only wanted to stop group 1 and let small group 1 continue, I can click stop and it closes that for them. And or I can click the stop conference up at the top, and that'll stop all of the conferences from happening at the same time. So these conference tools are really, really great to use with your students. I will give you a little bit of a warning, I should say, that the first time I used this, it did not send the kids directly into their conference like it should have the very first time. I had to log off and log back in, and it did work the second time. So I think there's still a couple hiccups involved with that, but you'll know pretty quickly. If you click conference and try to start a conference with the kids and it doesn't open on their screen, you know pretty quickly that it didn't work. And I haven't had that issue happen since the very first time. So it seems like it gets fixed along the way. So again, this is a really, really great tool to not just conference with your students, but making announcements to your students. If they're working and they have 5 minutes left and you just want to pop in really quick without them having to open up a meet and get everyone invited, you can just open up a conference with them, say your announcement, say, hey everyone, we're going to be meeting back in our main meeting room in 5 minutes, close it up and let them continue working. Or again, you can create great breakout rooms that can fit any size or however many you would want to create in your classroom. So it's up to you, your imagination and how you think would work best in your classroom. So I encourage you to use these tools and reach out to us if you experience any issues or come across any problems. This is new for us and it's new for you. So, there's going to be hiccups along the way, but I think they're going to be, it's going to be good as a whole for the district. So I'll go ahead and stop here. If you have any questions about Blocksi, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the digital learning team, myself, Anita Chavez, or Andrea Moore, and we will make sure that we get you the help that you need. All right, have a great day.